Hey guys, this is Aman from Edureka and welcome to today's session on GCP Interview Questions. So in today's session, we're going to learn some of the important and frequently asked GCP interview questions. This video will be helpful for candidates preparing for any job role in Google Cloud Platform. It could be cloud engineer, cloud developer, customer engineer, administrator, and so on. You can also watch this video if you want to gain some knowledge about cloud computing and Google Cloud Platform. But before we get started, I would like to address the agenda for today's session. So firstly, we'll talk about the general yet frequently asked cloud computing and Google Cloud Platform questions. Then talk about questions from different GCP service domains such as compute and hosting, storage, databases, networking, big data and machine learning, and cloud AI. Moving on, we will see what are the skills required to become a cloud engineer and conclude our session by talking about the GCP certification. You can also watch the skills required to become a cloud engineer part before knowing the interview questions by following the timestamps. Now starting with our interview questions, we are first going to see some general cloud computing and Google Cloud Platform questions, then questions on compute and hosting domains, then storage and databases, next networking, followed by big data, machine learning, and cloud artificial intelligence. So I guess it is clear what all we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. So the first question we're going to discuss is, what is cloud? Now there are various ways to answer this. One of them could be, the cloud can be referred as a global network of servers, each with a unique function. These servers are designed to store and manage data, or to run various applications, or deliver content, and have many more functionalities. You can also mention that the servers are located in data centers across the world. You can also talk about the various service cloud offers such as compute, storage, databases, networking, and so on. Now I want you to understand the concepts and frame the answer in your own words. Moving on to our next question. What is cloud computing? Now, like the previous question, even this question can be answered in many ways. So to answer this question, I would say cloud computing is an on-demand availability of computer system resources. Now, these resources could include computing power, storage, databases, and so on. With cloud computing, you don't have to buy or own or maintain physical data centers and servers. You can just rent these resources whenever you need them from a cloud service provider. Now here you can also mention what are cloud computing used for. Like it can be used for data backup, disaster recovery, virtual desktops, software development and testing, big data analytics, and customer-facing web applications. So now moving on to a third question. List the type of service model available in cloud computing. So there are three types of service model available in cloud computing. That is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. IaaS stands for Infrastructure as a Service. In this service model, you can rent IT infrastructure such as servers and virtual machines, storage, networks, and operating system. Let's say a user wants to use a Linux machine. He can access the Linux machine using IaaS service model without worrying about the physical machine or the networking of the system on which the OS is installed. The next service model is Platform as a Service. This service model provides an on-demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing your software application. The users don't have to worry about setting up or managing the underlying infrastructure of servers, storage, networks, and databases which are needed for development. This is taken care of by the cloud service provider itself. The next service model is Software as a Service. In this service model, the cloud providers leases application and software which are owned by them to its client. The clients can access the software on any device which is connected to the internet using tools such as web browser or an application. Now to summarize this answer, just think of it as this way. Infrastructure as a service provides you with an infrastructure such as virtual machine or a servers, whereas platform as a service provides you with a platform where you can develop, test, and run your application. And software as a service provides you with the software itself. Now I guess you have some idea about service models which are available in cloud computing. Let us move on to our next question. The next question is, list the types of cloud deployment model. So there are four types of cloud deployment model, which are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. In public cloud deployment model, the resources such as application and storage are available to general public over the internet. These resources can be free or sold on demand, which will allow users to pay only per usage for the CPU cycles, storage, or bandwidth they use. Now when we talk about private cloud, it is operated solely for a single organization. It offers services over a private internet network, which is typically hosted on premises. Now this private cloud is costlier, but there is high level of security. Next, the hybrid cloud deployment model can be defined as a combination of public and private cloud. It can share services between public and private clouds depending on their purpose. The fourth cloud deployment model is a community cloud. Now, the community cloud infrastructure is shared between several organizations from a specific community with a common concern. Educational universities that are cooperating in the same area of interest as that of a research institute can use the same community cloud. Now, these were the four types of cloud deployment model. So now let us move on to the next question and see what are the benefits of cloud computing or why companies are increasingly adopting cloud computing. So now here you can mention some of the benefits of cloud computing, such as there is reduced cost of managing and maintaining IT system or infrastructure. The next benefit is scalability of the IT resources. You can scale up or scale down your operational and storage needs according to your convenience. The next benefit is it provides better productivity and collaboration efficiency. For example, if your team is working on a project across different locations, you can use cloud computing to give your employees, contractors, and third-party access to the same file. The next benefit is data backup and storage. You can elaborate this by saying your data is backed up, so you don't have to worry if your data is lost or deleted. The next advantage is cloud service providers provide automatic updates. This would include up-to-date version of software as well as upgrades to servers and computer processing power. Now, these were just some of the benefits of cloud computing. We can also mention some more benefits of cloud computing. So now let us move on to the next question. So the next question is, what is 𝐂𝐿? 𝐂𝐿 is the abbreviation for Elastic Utility Computing Architecture for linking your program to useful systems. It is an open source software infrastructure that helps in implementation of clusters in the cloud computing platform. It can build public, hybrid, and private cloud and has the ability to create a data centers into a private cloud. It also helps the user to utilize their functionalities across those other organizations. Now, these were some of the general cloud computing questions that can be asked in a GCP interview. So now let us move on to the next set of questions on Google Cloud Platform. So first question is, what is Google Cloud Platform? We all know Google Cloud Platform is a cloud service provider, but just to define it, Google Cloud Platform is a suite of cloud computing services and management tools offered by Google. It runs on the same cloud infrastructure that Google uses internally for its end user products such as Google Search, Gmail, Google Photos, and YouTube. Now, this is a very basic question, but even this can be asked in your interview. The next question is, what are the various services offered by GCP? The various services offered by Google Cloud Platform are compute services, storage and database services, networking services, big data services, identity and security services, Internet of Things services, then machine learning and cloud artificial intelligence services. Moving on to our next question, what is Google Cloud SDK? Google Cloud SDK or Google Cloud Software Development Kit is a set of command line tools. It is used for the development of Google Cloud. With these tools, you can access the compute engine, cloud storage, BigQuery, and other services directly from the command line. So now I guess you have understood what is Google Cloud SDK. So let us move on to the next question and see what is Google Cloud APIs. Google Cloud APIs are programmatic interface to Google Cloud Platform services. They are a key part of Google Cloud Platform, which allows you to easily add the power of everything from computing to networking to storage to machine learning based data analysis to your applications. Now moving on to our next question, why would you prefer GCP over other cloud service providers? Well, here you are expected to say the benefits of GCP. We can start the answer by saying, well, each cloud service provider has its own pros and cons. But what makes Google Cloud Platform unique is it offers a much better pricing model compared to the other cloud service providers. Next, considering hosting cloud services, GCP has an overall increased performance and service. You can also mention Google Cloud is very fast in providing updates about servers and security in a better and more efficient manner. You can also mention the security level of Google Cloud Platform is excellent. The cloud platform and the networks are secured and encrypted with various security measures. So I guess you got some idea about how to answer this question. So now let us move on to the next question and see what is projects in GCP and how to create one. A project organizes all your Google Cloud resources. A project consists of a set of users, a set of APIs, and billing, authentication, and monitoring settings for those APIs. So for example, all of your cloud storage buckets and objects along with the user permission for accessing them. All this resides in a project. So in order to create a project, you have to sign in to Google Cloud Platform Console. Then on the top left corner, you will have an option called as Project. Select that and click on New Project to create a new project, or you can also select an existing project from the list. So now I guess you have some idea about projects in GCP. So let us move on to the next question. Our next question is, what is Cloud Shell? So if you have been using GCP, you will know what is Cloud Shell. So for people who don't know what Cloud Shell is an online development and operational environment which is accessible anywhere with your browser. You can manage your resources with its online terminal, which is preloaded with utilities such as gcloud command line tool, kubectl, and many more. We can also develop, build, debug, and deploy a cloud-based application using the online Cloud Shell editor. So this was about Cloud Shell. Our next question is, what are availability zones and region? And how many availability zones and regions are there in GCP? So a region is a specific geographical location where you can host your resources. And availability zones are isolated locations within these regions from where public cloud services originate and operate. And then talking about Google Cloud Platform availability zones and region, it has 25 regions with 76 zones. Each region has at least 3 or more zones. The next question right after this could be, how would you choose an availability zone? Or what all parameters would you consider while selecting an availability zone? So you can answer this by saying you have to select the availability zone based on the following factors. The first factor is latency. Opt for the closest region for low latency. Fast connection to the servers ensures better performance in terms of quick loading and transfer time, which results in overall better user experience. So choose a region that is closest to the majority customer base. And then the next factor you should consider is the cost. Different regions will have different costs for the resources. For example, if I want to use an EC2 instance virtual machine in the US Central region, it would cost me somewhere around $48 per month. But the same virtual machine in Mumbai region would cost me $58. So you can see there is $10 difference per month in these two regions. So these are the factors you need to keep in mind before selecting an availability zone and region. So these were some of the general Google Cloud Platform questions. So let us move on to the next set of questions on compute and hosting services on GCP. So the first and basic question they could ask is, what is Google Compute Engine? Because Google Compute Engine is a primary compute engine in GCP. So you can explain this in a very simple term. It is a secure and customizable compute service that lets you create and run virtual machines on Google's infrastructure. So now moving on to our next question, what is Google App Engine? So App Engine is a fully managed serverless platform for developing and hosting web applications at scale. It allows you to choose from several popular languages, libraries, and frameworks to develop your application, and then the App Engine takes care of provisioning servers and scaling your application instances based on the demand. So now when you answer this question, they might ask you, what is serverless computing? So serverless computing is nothing but a cloud computing execution model in which the cloud provider allocates machine resources on demand, which means they take care of servers on behalf of the customers. So the customers can only focus on building your application where the servers and all that is taken care of by the cloud service providers. So I guess you have some idea about serverless computing. So now let us move on to our next question. Now this question is a frequently asked question. How are Google App Engine and Google Compute Engine different from each other? You can answer this by saying Google Compute Engine and Google App Engine are complementary to each other. Google Compute Engine is an infrastructure as a service product, whereas Google App Engine is a platform as a service product of Google. So now if you want the underlying infrastructure in more of your control, then Compute Engine is a perfect choice. For instance, you can use Compute Engine for the implementation of customized business logic, or in case you need to run your own storage system. On the other hand, you can use Google App Engine if you do not want to provision and manage your servers or scale them. Now I guess you have understood the difference between Google Compute Engine and Google App Engine. So now let us move on to our next question, which is, how does the pricing model work in GCP Cloud? So to generally answer this question, you can say, while working on Google Cloud Platform, the user is charged on the basis of compute instances, network use, and storage by Google Compute Engine. Now you can see here, I'm not specifically talking about a particular service. This is just a general overview. Google Cloud charges virtual machines on the basis of per second with a limit of minimum of 1 minute. then the cost of the storage is charged on the basis of the amount of data that you store. The cost of the network is calculated as per the amount of data that has been transferred between the virtual machine instances while communicating with each other or over the network. Over the network means the internet. You should prepare yourself with the questions on Google Cloud Platform pricing models, as these are among the most common Google Cloud interview questions. So moving on to our next question, what is Google Kubernetes Engine? Google Kubernetes Engine or GKE provides a managed environment for deploying, managing, and scaling your containerized application using Google infrastructure. Basically, in simple terms, it's a platform to deploy and manage containerized applications. So this was the definition of Google Kubernetes Engine. The next question is a scenario-based question. So if I want to run my application on GCP, which product would I use? You can answer this by saying it depends on the application requirements. GCP basically offers 4 means for application deployment, such as Google Compute Engine, Google Kubernetes Engine, Google App Engine, and Cloud Functions. You can use Google Compute Engine if you want to run your application on a customizable virtual machine platform. Next, if you want to run a containerized application, you can use Google Kubernetes Engine. You can use Google App Engine if you do not want to manage the infrastructure and just deploy the application without worrying about scaling your servers. Next, with Cloud Function, it will run your application after an event-driven function. That means only after a particular event occurs, your application will be deployed. So these were the 4 primary means for application deployment model. You can also tell the interviewers you can use a combination of these services. So let us see the next question. The next question is how to migrate servers and virtual machines from on-premises or another cloud to Compute Engine on GCP. So if the interviewer asks you this question, you can just say Google provides a cloud software known as Cloud Migrate for Compute Engine. The software is used to migrate the virtual machines from on-premises data centers or any other cloud service providers into Compute Engine in the GCP platform. You can also mention the software is provided by Google itself and it comes with no additional cost. Now they can also ask this question as what is Cloud Migrate for Compute Instances? The answer would be the same. So now let us move on to the next question and see why should you opt for Google Cloud Hosting. This question is usually asked in Google Cloud consultant interviews. The interviewer may ask this question to check your knowledge and explanation skills about Google Cloud. So here talk about the advantages of choosing Google Cloud Hosting. The first advantage is it provides a better pricing plans. Next, there is a benefit of live migration of virtual machines, which means you can migrate a running virtual machine to and from any cloud service providers or on-premises also. The next benefit is it provides enhanced performance and execution. It also has strong control and security of the cloud platform. The next benefit is it has inbuilt redundant backup, which will ensure data integrity and reliability. So these were some of the benefits of Google Cloud Hosting. Let us move on to the next question and see what are shielded virtual machines. Shielded virtual machines are virtual machines on Google Cloud which are hardened by a set of security control that helps them defend against threats such as malicious project insiders, malicious guest firmware, and kernel or user mode vulnerability. Using shielded virtual machines help protect enterprises' workload from threats like remote attacks and malicious insiders. So these were some of the questions on compute and hosting services in GCP. So now let us talk about the interview questions in storage and database services in GCP. So our first question in storage and database section is, what is cloud storage? Well, cloud storage is a primary storage service in GCP. It is a service offered by Google for storing your objects in the Google Cloud. Now an object is an immutable or unchangeable piece of data consisting of files of any format. Now object can be unstructured data such as music, images, videos, backup and log files, or archive files. Also, objects have 2 components, which are object data and object metadata. While object data is typically a file that you want to store, and object metadata is a collection of name-value pairs that describes the various object qualities. Now you store these objects in containers called buckets. So when you mention about buckets, there is a high probability of the interviewer asking you, what are buckets in cloud storage? Well, buckets are nothing but a basic containers that hold your data. Now everything that you store in cloud storage must be contained in a bucket. You can use bucket to organize your data and control access to your data. which means you decide who has access to your data. You can create a bucket by specifying a globally unique name for your bucket, also specifying a geographical location where the bucket and its contents are stored, and also a default storage class. So this was about buckets in cloud storage. The next question we're going to discuss is, what are the types of GCP storage available and in what scenarios do we use them? Now here we've already talked about cloud storage, so we'll move on to the other GCP storage services. Now it offers Google Drive, which can be used to store, manage, and share your personal files. Next we have cloud storage for Firebase, which helps you manage data in your mobile applications. The next storage service is persistent disk. Now this is a block storage which can be added to your compute engine virtual machines. And last we have file store, which allows you to store files or create a file-based workload. So these were the GCP storage services. Our next question is, what is object versioning in GCP? Well, object versioning is used to retrieve objects which are overwritten or deleted. So let's say I have updated a file in cloud storage. Now the updated file and the file before updating, both versions will be available to me. So if the updated file gets deleted by mistake, or I want to check what was the file before the update, I can do that with the help of object versioning. One disadvantage of this would be it increases the storage cost, but it would provide me security for objects when they're deleted or overwritten. And on enabling the object versioning in GCP bucket, a non-concurrent version of the object is created every time when the object is overwritten or deleted. So the next question in storage and database section is, what are the libraries and tools for cloud storage on Google Cloud Platform? Well, you can answer this question by mentioning the libraries and tools such as Console, GSUtil, client libraries, and REST APIs. Now Console is nothing but the Google Cloud Console, which provides a visual interface for you to manage your data and perform basic operational on objects and buckets. Next, GSUtil is a command line tool that allows you to interact with cloud storage through a terminal. Next, we have the cloud storage client libraries, which allows you to manage your data using one of the preferred language, which would include C++, C#, Go language, Java, Node.js, PHP, Python, or Ruby. The next tool for accessing cloud storage on GCP is REST APIs. Now you can manage your data using the JSON or XML APIs. So these were the libraries and tools for cloud storage on Google Cloud Platform. So now moving on to our next question, how can I maximize the availability of my data, or how can my important data be more secure and available to me? You can answer this by saying you can store your data in multi-region or dual region bucket location if high availability is a top priority. This ensures that your data is stored in at least 2 geographical separated regions, which will provide you continued availability even in the rare event of a region-wide outage, which includes anything caused by natural disasters. So this is what GCP offers for more availability of their data. Moving on to our next question, what is Cloud SQL? Well, Cloud SQL is a fully managed database service that helps you set up, maintain, manage, and administer your relational database on the Google Cloud Platform. We can also mention you can use Cloud SQL with MySQL, PostgreSQL, or the SQL Server. Well, Cloud SQL is one of the core database services in Google Cloud Platform. The next question is, how would you choose the right Google Cloud database service? Well, this would definitely depend on the requirement. You can select from any of these options. You can select either Cloud SQL, Cloud Spanner, Cloud Firestore Data Store, Cloud Big Data, or Cloud Memory Store. You can choose Cloud SQL when you need relational database capacity but do not need storage capacity over 10 TB or more than 4,000 concurrent connections. Next, you can select Cloud Spanner when you plan to use large amount of data, which is typically more than 10 TB and need transactional consistency. Next, you can use Cloud Firestore or Data Store when you plan to focus on application development and need live synchronization and offline support. The next option is Cloud Bigtable. Now, Cloud Bigtable is a good option if you're looking for large amount of single key data, in particular, which is good for low latency and high throughput workloads. And the last option is Cloud Memory Store. Now, this would be a good option if you're looking for key value datasets and your primary concern is transactional latency. These were some of the Google Cloud database services. So now let us move on to our next question, which is a scenario-based question. So the question is, can my app engine in one region access the Cloud SQL instance which is present in a different region? Well, the simple answer for this is yes. If you're connecting to a MySQL instance, your App Engine application does not need to be in the same region, and it can be running in either the standard or the flexible environment. However, a larger distance between your Cloud SQL instance and your App Engine application causes greater latency for connection to the database. Now, latency is nothing but a delay in the transmission of data. So the next question in the storage and database section is, can I import or export a specific database in Google Cloud Platform? Well, the answer for this is also yes. For MySQL instances, you can import and export either a single database or multiple databases. And for PostgreSQL instances, you can only import or export a specific database. Now, these were some of the questions in storage and database service in GCP. Now, let us move on to the next set of questions in networking. So the first question in this section is, what is Google Cloud VPC? Now, if you're applying for any Google Cloud job, you're expected to know this answer. Virtual Private Cloud in GCP is a virtual network that provides connectivity to all your virtual machine instances. It could be your compute instance, Google Kubernetes Engine clusters, or your App Engine flexible environment, and any other Google Cloud products which are built on the compute instances. So you don't have to talk in detail about VPC. You can just define it so the interviewers knows that you have some knowledge about VPC. So the next question is, how is Google VPC different from any other cloud service provider's VPC? So as you can see in the diagram, in the traditional VPC or the VPC provided by other cloud service providers like AWS, the architecture would look something like this. Now here in the first diagram, you can see there are two VPC built with two different subnets in two different regions, which are US West and US East. Now the virtual machine in one region can access the internet and communicate with the other virtual machine only through the VPC gateway. Now this gateway acts as an interface. So now in a traditional VPC, one virtual machine cannot directly communicate with the other virtual machine. Now in Google version of Virtual Private Cloud, it follows a global construct, which means instead of creating a VPC in US East and US West, you can just create one VPC and put the subnets in different regions within that VPC. Now in this case, the virtual machines present in one region can directly communicate with the virtual machine in the other region without the help of VPN gateway. Now I guess you have some idea about how Google VPC is different from the VPC of other cloud service providers. Now if you have understood the concept, you can put the answer in your own word and explain it. The next question in networking is, what are routes and firewall rules? Now when we talk about VPC, this question comes tagged along. Now route tells the virtual machine instances and the VPC network how to send traffic from one instance to the destination. This destination can be either inside the network or outside of the Google Cloud, which is typically the internet. Next, firewall rules are rules which allow you to control which packets can travel to which destination. It lets you allow or deny connection to and from your virtual machine instances based on the configuration that you specify. So this was about routes and firewall rules in Google Cloud networking. So our next question is, what is load balancing? Now this is a frequently asked question in many GCP interviews. Load balancing is a process of distributing the computing resources and workload in a cloud computing environment to manage the demands. By spreading the load, load balancing will reduce the risk that your application will experience performance issues. By using cloud load balancing, you can serve content as close as possible to your users. We can also mention this point that cloud load balancing is a fully distributed, software-defined managed service. It is not hardware-based, so you don't have to manage a physical load balancing infrastructure. So this was about load balancing. Our next question is, what is Cloud DNS? Well, Cloud DNS is a high-performance, resilient global domain name system service that publishes your domain name to the global DNS in a cost-effective way. Now, DNS is nothing but a directory of easily readable domain names that translate website names into numerical IP addresses which are used by computers to communicate with each other. For example, when you type a URL in your browser, DNS converts the URL into an IP address of a web server associated with that name. Like www.example.com is translated to the IP address of 72.220.193.173. Now I guess you have some idea about DNS. Now let us move on to the next question. Now next question is a scenario-based question. How can I connect my existing network to Google Cloud resources? You can answer this by saying Google provides 4 options to do this. The first one is through Cloud Interconnect, the second one is through Cloud VPN, the third is through direct peering, and the fourth one is through carrier peering. Now, Cloud Interconnect enables you to connect your existing network to a VPC network through a highly available low latency connection. You can choose Cloud VPN, which will enable you to connect your existing network to a VPC network through an IPsec connection. Next, direct peering enables you to exchange internet traffic between a business network and Google at one of Google's broad-reaching edge network locations. And the fourth option is carrier peering, which allows you to connect your infrastructure to Google's network edge through highly available low latency connection, which is provided by the service providers. Moving on to our next question, describe some of the security aspects that the cloud offers. Well, some of the important security aspects that the cloud offers is access control. It offers the control to the admin to decide the access of other users who are entering the cloud ecosystem. The next security aspect is identity management. This provides the authorization for the application services. And third is authorization and authentication. This security feature lets only the authenticated and authorized users to access certain applications and data. These were some of the important security aspects that the cloud offers. Moving on to our next question, list some of the GCP security services. GCP security services include Cloud Security Command Center, Cloud Armor, and Cloud Identity. Cloud Security Command Center is the tools that let users view and monitor their cloud assets and provides important security support functions like storage system scanning, vulnerability detection, and access permission reviews. Next, Cloud Armor is a DDoS and application defense system. It is built using the same major technology and infrastructure that Google relies on to protect its services, including Google Search, Gmail, and also YouTube. The third security service is Cloud Identity. Now, this service controls and defines the users and groups and the GCP resources they have access to. Now, these were some of the GCP security services. So now let us move on to our last set of questions on other GCP services. Now, these other GCP services would include Big Data, Internet of Things, and Google Cloud Artificial Intelligence. So the first question in this section is, what is Google BigQuery? BigQuery is a Google Cloud's fully managed, petabyte scale and cost-effective analytics data warehouse that lets you run analytics over vast amount of data in near real time. You can say Google BigQuery is a replacement of the hardware setup for the traditional data warehouse. We can also mention how the BigQuery organizes its data. We can also mention the BigQuery organizes the data table into units that are known as datasets. Moving on to our next question, what are the big data services which are offered by Google Cloud Platform? Well, some of the services are Google Cloud BigQuery, Google Cloud Dataflow, Google Cloud Dataproc, Google Cloud Pub or Sub, Google Cloud Composer, Google Cloud Big Data, and Google Cloud Data Catalog. Moving on to our next question, what is Google Cloud Dataflow? Well, this is one of the important GCP's big data service. You can answer this question by saying Google Database is a managed service for executing a wide range of data processing patterns. It provides a managed service and a set of SDKs that you can use to perform batch and streaming data processing tasks. It works well for high volume computation, especially when the processing task can clearly and easily be divided into parallel workloads. Next, moving on to our next question, what is Cloud AutoML? This is one of GCP's machine learning service. Well, Cloud AutoML is a service that enables developer with limited machine learning and programming expertise to train high quality models specific. You can use AutoML to build on Google's machine learning capabilities to create your own custom machine learning models that are tailored to your business needs, and then integrate those models into your application or website or both. So this was about Cloud AutoML. Let us move on to the next question. Our next question is, explain Google Cloud AI Platform. Well, AI Platform is a suite of services on Google Cloud which are specifically targeted at building, deploying, and managing machine learning models in the cloud. AI Platform provides the services you need to train and evaluate your training model in the cloud. It is integrated with several easy-to-use tools like BigQuery and data labeling service to help you build and run your own machine learning applications quickly. You can store and manage the large amount of data with BigQuery and then prepare or label this data for model training using data labeling service. So this was about Google Cloud AI platform. Now our next question is, what is Cloud IoT Core? Well, Cloud IoT Core is a fully managed service that allows you to easily and securely connect, manage, and store data for millions of devices which are spread globally. It provides a complete solution for collecting, processing, analyzing, and visualizing IoT data in real time to support improved operational efficiency. So this was about Cloud IoT Core. Now let us see the next question. Our next question is, what service would you use for text analytics in Google Cloud Platform? So the service which is used for text analytics in Google Cloud Platform is Cloud Natural Language. Natural Language AI enables you to analyze text and also integrate it with your document storage on cloud storage. You can extract information about people, places, and events and have a better understanding about social media sentiments and customer conversations. So these were some of the important and frequently asked GCP questions. So now let us move on to our next topic and see what are the skills required to become a cloud engineer. So a cloud engineer is an IT professional responsible for performing technological responsibility concerning cloud computing. They are mainly responsible for maintenance and support, management, planning and designing of an infrastructure on the cloud platform. So now talking about the skills required to become a cloud service provider, the first skill is having knowledge about cloud service provider. So if you're thinking of taking the cloud computing career path, spend some time familiarizing yourself with at least one of the cloud service provider. The top 3 cloud service providers are Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. Now if you want to see a comparison between these 3 cloud service providers, I will leave a link to that video in the description box below. Now these cloud service providers offer end-to-end services like compute, storage, databases, ML, migration, and many more. It includes almost everything that is related to cloud computing, and this makes it one of the important cloud engineer skills. The next skill is programming skill. This is one of the important cloud engineer skills. Proficiency in programming language is essential for scaling web application. Some of the programming language you should be familiar with are PHP, Java, .NET, SQL, Python, and Ruby. You can learn all of these languages with the help of blogs, online videos, or either offline or online classes, but the most important of all is hands-on practice. Now talking about the third skill required to become a cloud engineer is having knowledge about the important cloud service domains. Now this cloud service domain would include compute, which involves virtualization and serverless computing. Next is cloud storage, which deals with data and information which is stored in the cloud. After that, we have networking and security. Now a cloud engineer should be familiar with the basic cloud networking concepts and network security, which includes encryption, authorization, and different protocols. Moving on to our next skill, that is web services and APIs. Cloud architects are heavily based on APIs and web services because web services provides developers with method of integrating web application over the internet. XML, SOAP, WSDL, and UDDI open standards are used to tag data, transfer data, describe and list services available. Plus, you also need APIs to get the required integration done. Now, having experience of working on websites and related knowledge would help you have a strong core in developing cloud architectures. The next skill is Linux. Now, Linux is an open source operating system that can be customized to meet business needs. Linux is being increasingly adopted by many cloud service providers because of its various benefits. So as a cloud engineer, you should be able to architect, administer, and maintain Linux-based servers. Talking about the next skill required to become a cloud engineer, it is DevOps. Now DevOps brings in the development and operational approach in one place, thus easing the work dependencies and filling in the gap between the two teams. DevOps approach is being increasingly adopted by many top companies and gets really well with most of the cloud service providers. Now these were some of the important skills required to become a cloud engineer. Let us now move on to our next topic and talk about GCP certification. Now cloud certification serves as a validation for your cloud skills. They can make your resume stand out during the hiring processes and can also result in larger paydays. Now preparing for the certification will help improve your knowledge and can also be helpful during your job interviews, as organization needs certified people. This is because clients generally prefer companies whose employees are certified, as it gives them assurance with regard to quality. So I would highly recommend you to take Edureka's Google Cloud Architect Certification Training, which is curated by top industry experts. This Google Cloud training will enable you to design, develop, and manage a robust, secure, and highly available cloud-based solution for the organization's need. This Google Cloud Architect Certification course consists of demonstration, assignments, multiple choice questions, and a certification project which will help you master Google Cloud concepts. And with this, we have come to the end of our session. I hope it was helpful. Happy learning.